Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's a little better. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Test, 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 test. What's up, man?
How you doing?
Thanks for coming
Good to
up.
see you, yeah.
Okay, everyone, like I promised earlier, I have a private clocker here with me who looks at the horses from a little bit different perspective. He's out here every morning, even during non-Derby and Oaks times, clocking the horses, watching their progression and their gallops and their jogs, et cetera, et cetera. So he knows a good horse when he sees one. And Brandon has been here watching the Oaks and Derby horses train, along with Bruno DiGiulio, who is a longtime clocker as well. They put out a workout report every day for a variety of racetracks all across the country. That can be found at brisnet.com. It's called Bruno with the Works. And if you're playing the races, and I can tell you this firsthand because I watch races, I handicap races, and I've been doing so for a long, long time. Having the workout report is a secret weapon that most people don't have. You look at a workout on paper and you say, wow, that's a great workout, but he tells you what kind of workout it really is, how not only how fast they went, but how they did it. And we're going to get into some of that stuff with Brandon right now. So Brandon, why don't you tell everyone first a little bit about your background, how you got into this, where you're from, and why you became interested in horse racing and clocking.
Thanks, Joe. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. I've been here all my life and grew up to the track coming with my grandpa since I was 13, 14. We used to hang out in the paddock. So looking at the horses has always come fairly naturally to me. Big handicapper, loved looking at pedigrees. About 4 years ago, I had the opportunity to start doing this in the mornings thanks to Bruno DiGiulio. He trained me at Keeneland, a couple weeks there, came to Churchill, and just kind of got my feet wet. And it takes a couple years to get this down because with what we do, we look at, we basically identify the horses by their color, their markings, saddle towels. So there's a lot of work that's involved. We don't have a walkie-talkie talking to the people on the backside. But we like what we do, and it kind of pushes us to check out the horse more than we normally would just looking at the watch. So I'm also a physical therapist assistant, so when I leave the track here, I go and do that job. So, for that, I watch the way people move for a living. It's kind of the same way out here. I watch the horses, the way they move, the way they're coming into their races. So horses are just like people. You can tell a lot by the body language. You can tell a lot, looking at a horse's ears. It tells you how they're feeling. So for me, it was an easy transition. And, 4 years going strong, and we've had good meat, like Joe said. And, the second year I was out here, we had our top pick was Commanding Curve, finished second in the Derby at 37-1. So you can definitely find value out here. Even if, California Chrome won that year, but the Exacta still paid $300. So just a little background on me. And like Joe said, we've been out here for over a month, pretty much every day. We've been watching all the horses train. I just finished the Oaks workout report last night. It's huge. We got a ton of horses that we're ready to bet on. We're ready to make some money on. So look for that work of the day in the program. I just turned it in yesterday, and we've just got a lot of information we're ready to share with everybody.
All right, so you mentioned Commanding Curve at 37-1, and our job as horse racing analysts, you can be either a hero for a goat or a goat, and like a lot of people like to say, what have you done for me lately? So, Brandon, we want you to tell us, again, what you've seen so far. And we're going to focus mostly on the Kentucky Derby. Maybe we'll get into the Kentucky Oaks a little bit as well. But we know who looks good on paper. Four likely favorites. Classic Empire, Always Dreaming, Kraken, Irish War Cry. Let's start with those four because people want to know, how are the favorites looking? Tell us what you've seen from those four horses. Some have been here longer than others. We just got a chance to see Irish War Cry for the first time yesterday. Probably see him, I'm guessing, at 8:30 this morning. But tell us what you've seen from the favorites so far.
Yeah, we'll start out with Classic Empire first. And if you've read anything in the media coverage, this horse, his head is just, it can be anywhere at times. He's on game sometimes, but then other times he doesn't want to work in the mornings. So what they've tried to do since Arkansas is just take it easy with him. He had a tough race there. He's coming back in 3 weeks. So you won't see him doing a lot out here. He's going to just gallop a little bit. He wears blinkers in his races. He hasn't worn blinkers the whole time he's been here. They're just trying to get him to relax, bring him in fresh. So from what we've seen with him, there hasn't been any negatives so far. Now, with Always Dreaming, I'm sure it's, if you've seen me on Twitter, I've got some video up. They've had to put the horse in draw reins. The horse has just basically been running off in the mornings, very energetic, a little too energetic. You don't really want to see that before the Derby because they're going a distance of 1.25 miles, and they've never been that far before, and you have to be able to relax. And so Pletcher has put the draw reins on. He's tried to get the horse's head down. It's working a little bit. This morning, he came out really early, about 5, really when the track opened, about 5:50, and was kind of doing the same thing, jumping up and down a little bit. You can tell he wants to run. I can't really knock the horse, but at the same time, it's not exactly what I want to see heading into the Derby because, like I said, you need to be able to relax, finish. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Always Dreaming is your pace setter in the Derby in here because once those starting gates open and you've got 150,000 people out there, he's going to be loose and probably going to just go ahead and go with it. Irish War Cry just got here. You can find his workout video on Twitter or Facebook. He looked a little energetic yesterday as well in his gallops, but sometimes that first day on the track, they can be a little fresh. So I'm interested to see when he comes out later what he looks like. McCracken, if you know anything about Ian Wilkes, the trainer, he points for races. He's one of the best at it. His mentor, Carl Nasker, won the Derby with Street Sense, and they point to the Derby. They weren't worried about the bluegrass in the last race. Don't worry about the third place finish there. This horse is going to be primed and ready to go on Derby Day. I will say one thing about the last workout. The headwind that day, he was running into about a 15 to 20 mile an hour headwind. So that time that he got in that last workout was much better than the time looks. So I think McCracken is doing everything right. He's coming into the Derby in the right way. So.
Okay, very good. So that's a close-up look at the four. Did Always Dreaming go out this morning? Yes. Same kind of thing?
Yeah, just like I was saying, Always Dreaming was out about 5:50. The draw reins are forcing the horse to keep his head down to try to get him to relax. At times, it's almost like he wants to pull the head up and almost break off of the draw reins. So it's serving its purpose, but at the same time, you would like to see him relax a little more. So, yeah, he's still worked up. And like I was saying, I wouldn't be shocked at all if, once they bring him to the paddock on Derby Day in front of all those people, if it just cranks him up a little more, and he's actually the pace setter in the Derby.
All right. So we've talked about the four favorites. The question I have for you, Brandon, is what potential long shots have caught your eye? I mean, there's going to be, over a dozen horses that are 15 to 1 or higher. Who are some of the horses that have caught your eye as long shots that potentially can win, maybe, or at least run second, third, or fourth like Commanding Curve did?
I think the first horse you have to talk about, and this horse is getting some buzz, is Hence for Steve Asmussen. This horse is obviously is based here at Churchill. He's been here since I started back here about 4.5 weeks ago. The horse has not ever turned a hair. He's done everything right. And if you want a guy that's going to bring a horse up to a big race, there's nobody I would rather have, in my opinion, than Steve Asmussen. He knows how to keep the horses fresh, at the same time challenge them coming into the race and tighten them up. I think Hence is a logical long shot. I'm very interested in Thunder Snow. Now, I know the horses coming from Dubai don't have a great record, but if you look at this year's Derby field, in my opinion, it's not the strongest field ever. So I look at a horse like Thunder Snow, who's undefeated on the dirt. Coming over here, I saw the gallop yesterday. He looked fantastic in the flesh. So Thunder Snow is another one that I think can make some noise in this race.
Okay, so again, the live Derby and Oaks training will begin in 5 minutes. I believe we're going to be broadcast to the entire world for that from this room. So we will be describing the action that you see on your television screens. Again, the Oaks horses in pink, the Derby horses in lemon yellow. We've got a couple of minutes before that starts, Brandon. So tell us about the Oaks. I mean, everybody's looking at Paradise Woods, who's going to be a defined favorite in the race. You've got Miss Sky Warrior, you've got Farrell, you've got Salty, you've got Abel Tasman. Those are the five that will probably be the five favorites behind Paradise Woods, who will be the public choice. Start with Paradise Woods and tell us what else you've seen from the Oaks horses and horses that you're keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I made a statement on Twitter about a month ago after Paradise Woods won the Oaks out at Santa Anita, and I said, this is my Oaks horse. If you have a chance, go back and watch that race of hers in her last. And, I just talked about the ears on the horse. Go back and watch that race and look at her ears down the backside. The right ear is just twitching back and forth, and what that tells me is that she's doing really easily, and she's ready for more. And then you saw her on the turn, and she drew off. So, hold on.
Okay, we're going to talk to Brandon more about his Oaks horses, hopefully during the course of this workout session. Looks like they started a little bit earlier this morning. Welcome to Dawn at the Downs here at Churchill Downs for a Wednesday morning. And we're going to see some Oaks and Derby horses trained during the course of today's session between 8:30 and 8:45. Again, the Oaks horses are in pink and the Derby horses are in lemon yellow. We have Private Clocker Brandon Staubel here with me. Dawn at the Downs in the Millionaires Row area of Churchill Downs, a live breakfast program. Brandon, let's talk about Sailor's Valentine. She was the winner last time out of the Ashland at Keeneland, and she did so as a long shot. This is a horse that you're probably very familiar with from training here last year, and it looked to me like she might be a one-turn horse, and maybe she was a little bit of an underachiever, but what have you seen from her as we get a look at Sailor's Valentine?
Yeah, I had her last year as a 2-year-old here, and she trained really well. Thought maybe the distance of the last race might get her, but she did finish strong. But at the same time, I'm not sure how strong the Ashland was. She's going to be a big long shot in here. Obviously, she's got a Grade 1 win, so you can't knock that. But I just like others in there.
We're going to talk about these horses as they pop up on your screen. I'm interested to hear what you think about Practical Joke, who has been wearing blinkers, during the training, and still trying to decide whether or not Practical Joke is going to wear blinkers in the race for Chad Brown.
Yeah, the decision was made apparently yesterday. They are not going to wear the blinkers. He didn't think they made that big of a difference in the morning. And actually, when Practical Joke worked, Chad Brown was right next to me, and he didn't seem disappointed, but at the same time didn't seem overly thrilled. So I think it was just kind of an indifferent move. Why not try it out? In my opinion, Practical Joke, he's got 3 wins sprinting, and he hasn't won a route race. So I'm not sure about the distance, and I'm not sure about his closing kit going 2 turns.
I believe, and my eyes are kind of bad, I don't think he was wearing blinkers right there. He was not. Okay, here's Classic Empire. We talked about him a little bit earlier, Brandon, and, again, looks really good in the flesh. He appears to be a happy horse here at Churchill Downs, which is his home track.
Yeah, and like I said, they're not going to do a whole lot with him. He's coming out of a tough race in the Arkansas Derby where he really had to run late, and there's no reason to do a whole lot with him. It's 3 weeks back to the Derby. He was off for 2 months before that race, so you just want to see a horse right now that's moving well. I'm not worried about how fast the gallop is. I just want to make sure he's moving well and he looks good. I mean, that's just something we can head out there and just watch him move, and you can tell if he's moving well or not.
And for how well documented it is about his bad boy attitude, he's been good in the mornings. I mean, he hasn't been fighting the rider. He's been calm, cool, and collected. There we see Abel Tasman. She'll be one of the favorites in the Kentucky Oaks. And there we see J-Boy's Echo, who will be one of the long shots in the Kentucky Derby, trained by Dale Romans. I wasn't all that impressed with J-Boy's Echo's training here, but the most recent workouts seemed a little better. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, it was definitely a design drill by Romans. He put a horse that is a very high energy horse in the mornings on the outside of J Boy, and basically just wanted to kind of wake J Boy up a little bit and have him finish and gallop out well. And I think it was mission accomplished. That being said, J Boy trained really well here as a 2-year-old. I mean, he was one of the top horses, top 2-year-olds I had out here. He hasn't trained in the same manner as a 2-year-old, but if you like J Boy, I wouldn't get off of him. I mean, he's trained well enough here that he hasn't given any negatives, you know.
There's the one-eyed wonder Patch, and Brandon, this horse is inexperienced, only 3 lifetime starts. Big step forward and running second in the Louisiana Derby. Last time out, 1 of 3 for Todd Pletcher. What have you seen?
Yeah, Patch and Tappert worked in their latest drill together. Patch was down on the inside and was second best there under some ask late. You know, from what they say, Patch is not a great workhorse, but that being said, I still would have liked to see a little more fight from him on the inside. I think he's up against it in here.
Now, this is a horse that just seems to be training like clockwork since I've been here in that state of honor. It seems like, you know, based on his size, you know, he's going to need to be in the clear, but he'll be forwardly placed and the potential to maybe run all day. What do you think of him? He doesn't win very much.
Yeah, I think he's the perfect horse to use underneath. You're right. He doesn't win a lot, but in the last race, he did encounter a little bit of trouble. I like the way he kind of, Julian kind of pulled him back and then still made a run late. So for me, State of Honor, you're right, has not turned a hair since he's been here, and he's the perfect exotics type player underneath.
We say Untrapped, 1 of 3 for Steve Asmussen with a spirited gallop here this morning. And another horse that's been coming up short. They tried blinkers with him last time, Brandon, and that experiment didn't work. He actually ran worse than he had done in his previous races. I think he's got maybe distance limitations, a mile, maybe even one-turn races might be his best.
Yeah, Untrapped is the type of horse that's going to just click off those 12 eighth furlongs there. So what I mean by that is just kind of like a steady grinder. And that's what you saw down in Arkansas this year. And honestly, that's the type of horse that can do well in the Belmont. So I'm looking at that horse more towards the Belmont, but he has looked great in the flesh.
Wow, so I learned something there. Here I'm thinking he's a one-turn horse, and you're thinking a mile and a half. So it'll be interesting to see what Untrapped does. There you see Practical Joke again. What are your realistic expectations for this horse as far as how far he wants to run?
You know, I think he's a one-turn horse. You know, if you've got a horse that's finished second in the Bluegrass and you're in the Derby, I mean, why not take the chance? But at the same time, you have to look at that record: 3 for 3 sprinting, 0 for 2, 0 for 3 routing. So for me, he has distance limitations, and I think you can tell that by the closing kick late. You know, had every chance to run down IRAP in the Bluegrass and just couldn't get there. So for me, that says one turn.
You saw Wicked Lick briefly there. She'll be one of the long shots in the Oaks. What do these gallops tell you about a horse like State of Honor who just keeps going and going and going and going? And we've seen the gallop outs of Always Dreaming and McCracken where they're galloping out down past the track kitchen and seemingly, you know, there's no bottom to them. Is that a really, really good sign when you have a horse that's going 9 furlongs in the Oaks or a mile and a quarter in the Derby?
Yeah, it's just like what we look for in the mornings with the workouts. We just want to make sure that they're doing it in a good manner. They're easy. The ears are up. The ears are moving. The head's relaxed. You know, you don't want to see kind of what you've seen from Always Dreaming where the head's being thrown up in the air. Just like Classic Empire right here on the screen. Just moving really well. The rider's got a good hold, stretching out well. I mean, just, you know, you can tell right away by how the horse is acting, especially the head, the ears. You just want that relaxed manner with their galloping. And as far as how far they're going, they're just working on fitness. You can check that out. I like to look at the hind end and compare it to some of the other runners that are on the track.
Okay, we've got Fast and Accurate on the track here. We talked about him a little bit earlier as far as, you know, maybe being a synthetics horse. A couple quick announcements. The Kentucky Derby draw will be live streamed today. That's at 11 o'clock in the morning. So again, 11 o'clock Eastern live stream of the Kentucky Derby draw. And again, if you'd like to give back to the horses that give so much to us and have a chance to win some money at the same time, we're doing a 50-50 raffle over Kentucky Derby weekend and plenty of chances to win. And you can participate in that online at derbygives.com. All proceeds going to the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. So derbygives.com for the 50-50 raffle. Give back to the horses and have a chance to win some money. What about Tappert? I think He's one of my live long shots. Willing to forgive the bluegrass if I'm going to get 15-1 on him.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything wrong. Like I said, he outworked Patch, which I don't know how much that's really saying. But at the same time, he definitely wants the distance, the way he moves out there, the way he looks. He's a bigger, longer type, and you can see him on the TV right now stretching out really well. That's a nice gallop right there. I think he could definitely hit the board.
Tapper, one of 3 Todd Pletcher trainees, won the Tampa Bay Derby and was second, I should say, in the Sam F. Davis behind McCracken. How much has experience come into play for you, Brandon? We see what we see in the mornings, but as far as the races go, the ability to overcome adversity, like McCracken has done, like Tappert has done, to be put in difficult positions. And then how does that relate to the training when trainers will work a horse in company or work a horse behind horses? Lesson learning and that experience seems to be critical in success.
Yeah, I think it's all about the experience as far as how they correlate that to the training. Now, if you go back and you look at a horse like Paradise Woods in the Oaks, light on experience, 3 races. So what Richard Mandela did in that last workout, if you go back and watch it on XB TV, is that he put her behind company on the outside and really had her finish late. So I think it just depends on the trainer, and the trainer kind of has an idea of what they're going to do out there.
We saw Salty, who was one of the favorites for the Kentucky Oaks, will be one of the favorites. McCracken is on the track now, and here he is again. I mean, tell us what you've seen from him. I mean, this is his home track. We've seen, good, serious work from him, but we've also seen him great in the gallops. And tell us what you've seen from him so far and what you're seeing from him this morning.
Yeah, you can tell right now on the track he's a very happy horse. The way he's moving, I love the ears on McCracken. He is very alert. He's a very intelligent runner. One thing I've noticed, too, when he came out for that last workout is he's definitely gotten a lot fitter, and I think that's by design. Like I said earlier, Ian Wilkes is a master at pointing horses for big races, and he used that bluegrass as a prep. McCracken was off for 2 months, had a little slight injury, comes back in that race a little keen, maybe didn't have what he needed late, but ever since he's been here at Churchill, he's definitely gotten a lot fitter, and if you watch on the TV right now, you can see the ears are up, he's alert, and then when he comes down the lane, that right ear will kind of cock back, like, what do you want me to do? He's just waiting on cue, but he's smart enough to know the difference between morning and afternoon.
Again, if you want to see the clips of these workouts that Brandon's talking about, or detailed reports from Ed DeRosa and clocker Gary Young, you can go to twinspires.com, their YouTube page, also KentuckyDerby.com. It's easy to find those workout clips, those gallop clips as well. And if you'd like to play the Kentucky Derby from home, safe, fast, easy, twinspires.com is the place, along with the Twin Spires app. Again, the Dawn at the Downs program presented by twinspires.com. What do you think about Gunnevera? I mean, this was a horse that got a lot of hype early in the season after he won the Fountain of Youth so emphatically, third to Always Dreaming in the Florida Derby. But his training here, the workout, and what he's been doing in the mornings hasn't really impressed me very much.
Yeah, his race 2 back in the Fountain of Youth was huge when he won, and he's had a long campaign, and I think you can kind of tell that now. The last race had no shot. Castellano out of the gate just took him sideways straight to the rail because he had a terrible post. Did do a little running late, but since he's got here to Churchill, he's just trained okay and had a really slow 5/8 drill the other day. I just think he's another one that maybe is starting to tail off a little bit.
This jog or gallop or whatever you want to call it is not as spirited as some of the other horses that we've seen, where they're into the bit, they're tugging a little bit, their ears are up, their head is high, but they're happy. He's getting into it a little bit more now. There you see Irish War Cry. So let's switch gears over to him. He was a little bit tough to handle yesterday morning in his first day here. It looks like he's settled in a little bit more here this morning, which is important.
Yes, exactly. He does look a little more settled. You can see the head is more relaxed today. The ears are up. The rider's got a good hold, but he doesn't have that head up where he's kind of almost what we say running off and not listening. I think the post is really big for Irish War Cry, possibly the biggest for any of the horses, and that's because of his trips. He likes to get those trips where either he's out in front clear or he's out in the clear stalking. If he's drawn on the inside and has to sit behind runners, from what I've seen in the races, I'm not sure he can handle that. So he's another one that, and you can see McCracken here, when he gets on the backside, tends to want to do a little more than allowed. So, but yeah, Irish War Cry, I think the post is possibly him and Always Dreaming the posts are huge for those two horses.
Now, Gary Young, who does some work for twinspires.com with the Turf Talk with Ed DeRosa, where they recap the morning activity, he said that Irish War Cry has the build of a horse that wants to go a mile and a quarter. What horses in this year's Kentucky Derby do you think have the build of horses that want to go a mile and a quarter?
Well, I think from what I saw yesterday, Thunder Snow is definitely in that category. With a horse like Classic Empire, they're not maybe as tall as like a State of Honor or someone like that, but you can definitely tell they'll handle it. I was a little bit on the negative side as far as the size of McCracken, but the more I've seen him, the more fit he's got. I feel like he can handle the distance. Like we said, State of Honor is one of those. I mean, for the most part, all these horses, they wouldn't be in this race if they didn't think they could get the mile and a quarter.
As we continue Derby and Oaks training again here for another 5 minutes or so, you're looking forward to seeing Irish War Cry, right? And then you see him yesterday, and he looks good. And you see him today, and he looks good again. Another spirited gallop, a little bit more controlled. During the course of time, Brandon, and let's just say 2 weeks ago, when horses start their serious training here for the Derby and the Oaks, and you have a line on them based on their past performances and what you've seen prior, they can move up or down, in your mind and in your head and in your evaluation process. Happy to see Irish War Cry, but talk about that process of, comparing the races, evaluating the races, seeing them in training, and how you come to your final decisions as to who you might bet on.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing with coming out of the races as we talk about coming out of the workouts. A horse has a big-time workout, but that's not the end of the story. It's how they come out of that workout, and it's the same thing with these big races. These horses, they run huge races, going a mile and an eighth, mile and 16th, and they have to come out of it well. I mean, what's the point of having a big workout and a big write-up? I'm not going to go bet on that horse if he didn't come out of the work well. So, yes, the heavy lifting is done, but at the same time, these gallops that we're seeing are very important. It's going to tell me a lot as far as, like, Battle of Midway right here looks good, coming down the lane, very controlled. I saw Gormley yesterday. He looked like he was galloping up a storm. So it looks like both of those have come out of their race as well. And then you see Thunder Snow right here. Very interested to see what he looks like again today. But yeah, you just want to make sure that the horses come out of the race as well, and that's something we do with our workout report. Is that you don't know that, you can't see that on paper, but we're able to tell you that through the morning workouts.
Now, you talked briefly earlier about Thunder Snow and what he has to overcome to run well in the Derby, the positives and the negatives, obviously. What are your thoughts in general about a horse having to travel halfway around the world, remain in quarantine for 42 hours, finally get on the racetrack here Tuesday? This is the second day that we're seeing him, and then run a big race going a mile and a quarter against the best 3-year-olds in the United States. I mean, there's positives and negatives to this horse.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. It's gonna take a lot. This is a huge task. No one's ever done it coming from Dubai. But like I said earlier, at the same time, I'm not sure how strong this Derby is this year. And I know we say that every year, but if you look at the top two choices, Always Dreaming, obviously the morning issues, you don't know how that horse is going to do. Classic Empire, coming off a big race, has the head issues, and there's just a lot going on in here, and we're not sure it's the strongest field ever. So, yes, it is a lot to ask, but at the same time, the horse is going to be 25, 30 to 1 maybe. For me, it's worth at least a little saver bet.
I'll tell you what, for a horse that traveled across the country or across the world and was in quarantine and is just getting out the last couple of days, could he really look any better than he does? I mean, I've been very impressed with Thunder Snow.
Yeah, I mean, once he starts his gallop here, there he is right there. You just want to see, especially when you've never seen a horse before and it's first time shipping in, you just want to you don't want to be too judgmental at first. You want to kind of just take the whole picture in, see what you've got. Once he opens up a little bit here down the lane, we can see a little more, but you can tell he wants to do a little bit. He's got that head up. He's into the bit a little bit, but that's the rider's responsibility there to not let him do as much. And once he turns for home here, you can hopefully see him open up a little bit. But as far as his coat, his flesh, I mean, everything looks great. So that's exactly what you want to see coming into the race.
He's a lot like State of Honor in that he's a very tall horse, and it looks like he's built to just keep going. So you talked about, maybe on trap, this could be a horse where if they decide to stay over here with him, could be a legitimate contender for the Belmont as well, depending on how well he runs in the Derby and how well he fits in. But he looks like he's got tactical speed and that he'll just keep running around there.
Yeah, the thing I like about him, if you're going to come over here from Dubai, obviously we all know American racing is about speed. Well, this horse has a lot of tactical speed. He has what I would call like a high cruising speed. And I just actually heard this morning that the horse he beat in the UAE Derby, Epicarius, is coming for the Belmont. So it's going to be interesting to see how those two runners do over here in the U.S. But, I mean, from what you're seeing right now, you can see the ears are kind of cocked, waiting on cue. Everything you want to see right now is good for me.
All right, switching gears here as the Derby and Oaks training will be winding down in just a few moments. Again, for everyone live and in simulcast land, we are racing at Churchill Downs today with a first post of 12:45, and the Derby will be drawn at 11 o'clock. Strength in California this year, at least from what we've seen on paper, with no mastery in the Kentucky Derby after his dominating win. California seems a little bit weak. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that was my first thought, is that the crop out there wasn't as strong. But then you start looking around at the other races, and you're kind of like, well, IRAP, a maiden, wins the Bluegrass. Sonatira, a maiden from California. And by the way, IRAP's from California as well. Sonatira, a maiden, runs 4th or 5th in the Arkansas Derby and then has a really strong breeze the other day out here. So maybe the California horses aren't as bad as we're saying. You've got IRAP standing in the gate here. And this is just typical of all the Derby contenders. They're going to do a little bit of schooling in the gate. You can see, I don't know if you've seen IRAP on track. He's huge. He's another one. His dad, Tiz Now, won the Breeders' Cup twice. Liked to run up close to the pace. So IRAP is another one I could see as a potential pace setter. But you just want to maybe reconsider the California horses, especially Gormley from a guy like John Sheriffs. If you've ever heard of a horse called Giacomo, won the Derby at 50-1. That was the trainer. Zenyatta, that was Zenyatta's trainer. So this guy knows how to win big races.
And the schooling process, Brandon, from out there jogging and galloping and getting serious workouts to visiting the schooling gate to schooling in the paddock. We saw several Kentucky Derby and Oaks horses schooling in the paddock yesterday. Explain what schooling is, why they do it, and what the benefits are.
Yeah, it's just all about preparation. It's trying to get these horses. And let's remember, most of these horses have only started maybe 3 to 7 times, so they're still fairly inexperienced. So getting them the experience of walking over to the paddock in the morning, and like yesterday with a couple of them coming over during the races when there's a crowd here. I mean, it's just more experience. The more times you can do it, just like with anything we do in life, the better you're going to be at it. Same thing with the schooling here. And another thing for the schooling, too, is to have the starters get familiar with some of these horses. A lot of these horses they've never seen before, just like me. So they have different quirks, whether it's, this one needs to be loaded in last, or he's an easy gate horse, so you can put him in the gate first. Now, obviously, in the Derby, they're going to have an order they put him in, but at the same time, these starters, they want to get a feel for these horses as well.
Let's talk about the Derby gate load, because that can be, as you've seen Gormley continuing, another nice gallop here this morning. Talk about the gate load for the Kentucky Derby. It's different in that we have a second gate, an auxiliary gate. We have 20 horses, and it can be a nerve-wracking process because not all 20 horses are going to be on their best behavior. Obviously, the ability to stand in a gate, depending on your post position, is very important because you could be standing in that starting gate for well over a minute.
Right, exactly. And let's just go ahead and talk about the one post right away. You're going to hear about this the next 2 or 3 days. If you draw the one post, it's not ideal. As soon as you break, you basically have to make a small right turn because the rail is right there. So if your horse draws the one, he's got a lot to overcome. Now, if he's a speed horse, maybe not as much. But if you've got kind of a mid-pack type closer, stalker type, then it's going to be an extreme disadvantage. A lot of people say the 20 post is not where you want to be, but if you look at a horse like Big Brown, if you look at a lot of the Derby winners the past few years, American Pharaoh, Nyquist, they all had that outside post, whether it was like 15 to to 17 to 18. So, post is not that big, but at the same time, the one hole, no one wants to draw that post.
Yeah, I think when people talk about that extreme outside post, if you had the 12 post in a mile and a 16th race, there's a really short run into the first turn, but in a mile and a quarter race of the Kentucky Derby, there's such a long run into that first turn. And, maybe you have the potential with an outside post to clear a little bit of that inside traffic, depending on how much tactical speed that you have. So I think people get a little bit too concerned about those outside posts, because if you do have tactical speed with that long run, it can actually be an advantage.
Yeah, totally agree with that. If you look at horses like American Pharoah, like Animal Kingdom, like Nyquist, they all got that 3 to 4 wide outside stalking trip. They didn't have any trouble on the inside. And then you look at some of those horses that drew inside that had to check, or closers that are coming late. That's the big thing about being a deep closer in the Derby. I mean, even like Exaggerator last year ran into a little bit of trouble around the 2.5 pole. Like Creator ran in a lot of trouble. The ideal trip, it seems like, especially the last few years, is that 3 to 4 wide stalking on the outside. So, a trip for that would be perfect, like an Irish War Cry.
There's a lot to be said for losing ground in a race and being hung 3 or 4 wide. But to me, having your momentum stopped and running into traffic and trying to find room to run in a 20-horse field can be a lot more detrimental. There's IRAP. He won the Bluegrass as a maiden. He was 4th in the Sunland Derby behind Hence. This seems to be a horse that's really coming around in the last 6 weeks or so, and it's tough to argue with the success of his connections.
Yeah, correct. I mean, Doug O'Neill, the trainer, won with Nyquist, and I'll have another, so he knows how to win this race. This is a horse that won the Bluegrass coming out of the Sunland Derby. The Sunland Derby was won by Hence. And actually, that Sunland Derby, if you look back on it, it's a grade 3, but it seems like it's producing a lot of top horses. You had a horse named Conquest Mo Money that went over to Arkansas and almost won the Arkansas Derby Classic. Empire had to run him down late, but horses coming out of that race have done well, and IRAP is the type, they took the blink. They've been experimenting with the blinkers on, blinkers off. They took them off in the last race. He sat right off a horse and then couldn't be run down late. He's a horse that wants to be up front, and he's a huge horse. I remember seeing him the other day, just a beast-like, maybe just a tad bigger than State of Honor as far as width. So if he gets out there and he's cruising out on the outside, he's another dangerous horse.
And from what I've seen, and he was training at Keeneland prior to coming over to Churchill, his last work there was good. His training here has been good. This gallop is good. I mean, again, a horse that is heading in the right direction versus others maybe like Gunnevera, who may have peaked already before the Kentucky Derby. And, during the course of the way horses are campaigned, it can happen both ways.
Yeah, exactly. And looks like he's letting IRAP kind of stretch his legs out here down the lane. So, trying to stretch out a little. Like I said, IRAP, his dad was Tiz Now, won the Breeders' Cup Classic twice at 1.25 miles. There's not going to be a distance problem with this horse. You can actually see he's letting him kind of stretch out a little bit here. So, looks good, nice stride. And this is the type of horse, like I said, if he gets going and he gets that long stride going, he could be a long shot player. Now, if he's drawn on the inside and has to check a few times, he's so big that's really going to hurt him.
And I would say the same for State of Honor as well. How do you see the Kentucky Derby pace unfolding? And I know we won't have all the details as far as who's drawn where until probably 11:15 this morning after the post position draw. But all things being equal, what horses do you think will be forwardly placed? And what kind of horse do you think will win the Kentucky Derby? First flight, second flight, third flight, deep closer?
Yeah, as far as the pace goes, I think, like I said earlier, you have to look at Always Dreaming, just the way you've seen, they had a 59 and change workout. I mean, they've cranked this horse up. He has natural early speed, but just what you've seen out here, I have to believe he's going to be near the front. Irish War Cry is not going to be too far behind. Fast and Accurate, the Spiral winner, doesn't appear to have as much early foot as them, but connections are apparently claiming that he's going to go to the lead. Now, whether you want to believe that or not, there's a possibility that could happen. So I think it's going to be very spirited. IRAP's going to be out there. State of Honor has speed. If you've got an inside post with State of Honor, you can't take back. You have to go. And that's the thing about the inside post is it kind of forces your hand early. It's either you go or you take back. And with horse like State of Honor, you're not taking back.
Very interesting as we see IRAP here as we're slowly winding down what appears to be a little bit more of an extended Derby and Oaks training period today. Started about 5 minutes earlier than we normally do, and we've been going a little bit longer than we normally do as well at 8:55. But you'll see in the background, horses from the general population are now going out to the track, and you know, they're out to get their morning exercise as well. So we're going to wrap this up here in a bit. Just a couple of reminders. Again, 50-50 raffle, chance to win money, chance to give back to horse retirement, aftercare, derbygives.com. Kentucky Derby draw at 11 o'clock this morning. You'll have the post positions for all 20 Derby horses, as well as a tremendous number of stakes races on the program. For Kentucky Derby information on Twitter, go to Derby Media. And again, we thank Brandon Staubel for his contributions today. And Brandon, enjoy the Kentucky Oaks and the Derby. And again, Brandon's picks, play of the day in the Churchill Downs program and on the website. And thanks for all of your insight.
Yeah, no problem. It was great to be here, and wish luck to everybody out there. Let's have a big Oaks and Derby.
All right, and with that, we're going to wrap up the Dawn at the Downs show. Thanks to everyone for coming out today. Again, we do race this afternoon. First post at 12:45. Have a great day, everybody.